Hello, 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 and welcome back to another episode of Today's Weather Tonight. Here, as always, again, after a little break, I am your I'm Cloud Hudson. I'm your meteorologist for the evening. That's comedian / meteorologist. I am back from my little trip to the Big Apple, and I had a lot of fun. I broadened my horizons. It was really cool to, go see what it's all about. But I'm really glad to be back home where I can safely take my shoes off and earth outside every day, get in direct contact with the living soil. They don't have a whole lot of living soil up there. So I'm really glad to be back amongst trees and stuff. The only wildlife I saw up there was I saw a subway rat. I saw some chickens in Brooklyn. That you could feed, but you had to pay for it. I saw a falcon. That's just one. And I saw some pigeons. I'm like, all right, that's not enough wildlife for me, bro. But okay. Let me play you a little ditty before we get started. See what the kalimba has to say today. Proximity effect. Y'all like that proximity effect there? Okay, cool. So that's whatever sound. I don't write music. I just kind of play what wants to be played. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's go from the sound realm to the densest realm we can, which is, I believe, the Earth. So let's go ahead and share the screen and take a look at what volcanic activity we had over the past week-ish. I'm going to try to rush through these, not rush, but I'm going to try to briefly scan through all of these updates so that we can get through in a timely fashion. I'm not a big fan of linear time, but I understand that it's what connects us all. So, I'll deal with it. Okay, looks like headlines from Tuesday. We went over Wednesday the 6th. We had Tsunosjima erupting, adding to the active volcanoes. Let's see. Tsunosjima exploded. Gorillol has lowered its status alert. We had that. We've seen that a lot. Consistent volcanic emissions in Mount Sangay in Ecuador. Not much else there. Let's keep rolling into the next day, the 7th. I won't click on all of them. Still seeing let's see, no more. Let's take a look at that one because it mentions Rearcast. Rearcast had a new hazard map issued on the 7th. Excuse me. Did we not? Are we not? Okay. You're not going to let me read more there? Severe weather conditions have affected the seismic monitoring. Sporadic number of earthquakes have been registered over the past few days. Inflation continues. Approximately 10 million cubic meter of magma have accumulated in the magma chamber overall since the last eruption. Still similar to what it was on March 2nd. Updated hazard assessments for all zones. Zone 2 and 3 have now been merged into one zone, which makes a lot of sense because Zone 2 and 3 used to be this red line, and now they're calling this all Zone 3. Okay. So we go 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, makes sense. Seeing an explosion at Sakurajima as well as Suwanosejima. So we're seeing a lot more imagery out of Fernandina and the Galapagos Islands or Ecuador, showing that continuing eruption. Lava flows continue to be active. So that's the cool part, is there is some like active lava flow on the surface there. We're just seeing a lot of volcanic explosive emissions from the usual suspects like Popo, but also Sakurajima and Suwanosejima. Looking pretty standard there. Anything else happen? Seeing similar Mount Ibu getting up there named. Let's just see if Ibeko. Oh, this is one that this is another one in Japan. So it looks like we are getting quite a few eruptions in Japan. Let's take a look at where our earthquakes have been. Let's see. I want to see the map. Oh, that's it. Earthquake news. Is Kilauea earthquake active again? Oh, this is a lot for Tuesday, March 12th. That is a lot of quakes over in 3. Let's see if this takes me to that summary page. Latest quakes, maybe. Yeah. Looking pretty active. Let me go back to that last page. I want to see this activity chart. I don't know. It's moderate global seismic activity over the second week of March. Let's see. 17 hours ago, we had a 4.0 in India, 6 quakes above magnitude 5, 27 between 4 and 5. Again, we're seeing a lot of quakes here in Japan and South Sakhalin, Russia, and then here in the Aleutian Islands in Alaska, and more earthquakes here in Xinjiang, China, Afghanistan, continuing a lot of eruptions here in the Philippines and all over Central America, from Guerrero, Mexico area to Guerrero into Oaxaca, into Guatemala, El Salvador, and Panama, and in Ecuador. Obviously, they're having some active eruptions in the Galapagos, so no surprise that we're having Ecuadorian eruptions. Honestly, around the Ring of Fire, things are waking up and being moderately active. Not anything to write home about, but also seeing continued activity here in Turkey and Greece, and then one here in North France. So that's an interesting one as well. Actually, that's not North France, that's South France. And then we had some up here, more earthquakes in Idaho. Oh, we got one on the Mid-Atlantic Ridge as well, a 4.9 in the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. So remember, that's kind of what we're looking at for maybe getting something going, cooking up in Iceland. And then this is just for the past day. It didn't look like we had a whole lot of earthquakes in the past few days when I looked at that activity meter. Like, we're looking here. I guess there were several M5s. Yeah, there were some elevated quakes recently, but really looking at, ooh, I got a nice zoom in here. We can see all of these. Can I turn plates on? Is that gonna work? Does it want to let on plate boundaries? Yeah, you can see how all of these Japanese earthquakes are centered both off the Noto Peninsula that saw the Big 7 earthquake out here at the beginning of the year, but also more in the typical earthquake strike zone for Japan, which is its east coast and near the H-shaped plate boundary. Then all the way through their volcano islands, that makes a lot of sense because that's where they're having volcanic eruptions right here on the Okinawa plate. Got earthquakes stretching from Taiwan down into the Philippines. A lot here clustered in the Sunda plate. That seems to be really active right now. Let's see about out here in Fiji. Yep, this I bet is going to be a very deep one, right? Yes, at 572 kilometers depth. This is an even deeper one here in the Fiji region. And then here in Tonga, we went up to a magnitude 5 at 10 kilometers depth. So that is definitely the area where, well, not, I don't want to say definitely, but that seems to me to be the area where we get both deep quakes and shallow quakes, meaning it's some, I think, vertical transmission of different potential energies being converted into kinetic energy. And then this deep quake line is stretching into New Zealand. Boy, the northern New Zealand is seeing quite a flurry of 2.0 and greater quakes today. So beautiful. We love to see such active earthquake conditions. Well, I love to see it because I like to think about it. Let's see if I can look at from the GOES satellite, if we can look at a longer data set. Yeah, let's look at 240 hours. Maybe 10 days. Can I see it? Does it work? Is it gonna work? Small size, loop 180. I've never tried to load such a large time. Perhaps I need to go back to 60 hours. There we go. So let's see if it'll let me do 240 hours now. Maybe it'll load. Yeah, okay. So this was the big system that swirled through and brought some nasty conditions to the Midwest and Northeast. Still just hanging out up there in Canada. And we're getting this big vertical segmentation of air coming in here. probably causing some severe weather in the south, but it doesn't look like anything too rapid. These little bands look like they might have caused some damage. And when we get straight line winds, that can also be damaging wind speeds too, but not looking too dreadful over the past. I mean, it's very nice of the weather to not have to give me too much to work with over the past few days. There were some, and when we go to this time slot, actually go to the 11th. On the 11th, there was some wind, some heavy wind here in the southeast. So I actually had my flight was delayed because the airplane couldn't get out of Charlotte. Or the airplane that was supposed to take me to Charlotte didn't get here and get to New York in time. Let's look at I want to look at sandwich RGB. And it'll just take a second to load. And then we can see really what looked like some rain systems moving through everywhere. Yeah, it looked like the Midwest had some yucky weather. But this looks to be coming from the Pacific tropics. But really nothing over here could materialize into a storm until really looks like today we're getting some potential weather happening, but it doesn't look like I missed too much, honestly. Let's go and look at let's take a look at our precipitation data. Take a look at our real-time analysis over at Pivotal Weather. Thanks y'all for being here. Thanks for welcome back to this channel. I didn't go away forever. I'm here. Just had to take a little break. All right. Do I get a longer loop here? No, I don't. Okay. Let's see what today's weather observations were. Temperature-wise. Staying nice and cool throughout the Appalachian Mountains with that Gulf heat spreading up through the flatlands, so the coastal areas and the lower plains, and really not wanting to soak in the more heavily forested and mountainous areas like in the Ozarks or as we get into the steppes of the Rockies. But looking like springtime wants to come in. Now, I am noticing just a persistent cold over the upper elevations over here. I wonder how much snow they've got on the ground over there. Let's see about our observed snowfall over the past 3 days. Because remember, this is California's rainy season. This is when they really get that big snow. I mean, that is decent. 24 hours, they're still getting dumped on, dude. They are just getting dumped with snow in the is that the Cascades, the Sierras, the mountain range that goes through Washington and Oregon. And then also here in the Seattle area, like a lot of snow in this Bay Area. And here on the Canadian border, looks like they got a lot of snow. A lot of snow up here in the upper Northeast in New England, in Connecticut and Vermont as well. I didn't see it. I just saw a lot of, when I was in New York, I saw some sunshine. It was awesome. Saw a lot of wind. That was not as awesome. But the wind hits harder when there's less trees around to absorb it and break up, like act like a wind baffle. So beautiful. Looks like from the thumbnail of this, we didn't really get much precipitation today that wasn't snow. Let's take a look at seasonal snowfall analysis. Let's see where we are there. I bet this whole thing's orange. Yeah, wow. They really need to up the scale for this because I bet some of these maxed out like months ago, and this last storm looks like it's maxed out the Washington and Oregon area of it too. Idaho, just under feet and feet of snow everywhere. Also, same in Wyoming, that Yellowstone area is just crushed under the weight of a bunch of heavy snow. Northeast, also not doing too bad. Really coming in heavy with those snowfall totals, but not as much as you would think in like the coastal areas of the Northeast. That's still staying relatively unscathed by these snowfall like even parts of North Carolina have more snow than South Jersey. It's really looking like an elevation game and a city heat island effect, and also just a lot of heat is still here in the Gulf of Mexico. In fact, let's go ahead and look at where our sea surface temperatures are on null Earth, because we haven't checked in with our sea surface temperatures in a while. Okay. Hello to everyone out there, by the way. If you feel like leaving a comment, please do. It's pretty, it's nice of you, but if you want to let me know where you're watching from and what the weather's like there, that would be cool. Okay, so this is the Earth air temperatures. Let's take a look at our sea surface temperatures. So these are the base level sea surface temperatures, and I don't know why it has wave direction. I like to look at current. Okay, so these are the currents really doing a lot of transport of the heat, but kind of surface level currents, because there's multiple currents that go throughout different levels of the ocean, just as there are different currents that go throughout levels of air in the atmosphere. Got a lot of heat here in well, really where we've seen a lot of earthquakes. There's a lot of ocean heat just warming up, boiling that earthy soup. Seeing a lot of really warm water here in the southern hemisphere tropics. That makes sense because they are in their summer right now. We are also moving towards the equinox slowly but surely. So the area of the Earth that's getting hit the most directly, like the most perpendicularly by the sun's rays, will shift up, and we'll slowly but surely see the Atlantic getting the kind of heat that we're seeing in the Pacific as we move into summer. Looking like not nothing, but pretty much what I expected. Let's take a look at our... let's see where the humidity is going from this. Lots of humidity in the tropics and near the equator. Also near up in Canada, pretty warm or humid, excuse me. Humidity sweeping into the lower plains section of the Midwest of the country, which is, like I said, where this Gulf of Mexico air can spill into. It's hot, warm breath, hot, humid breath. But where we're staying cold, still not too humid. Out here in the Pacific, we've got actually a high pressure system. So spinning out some, blocking energy, like kind of blocking convection from occurring, but spinning that into ebbing and flowing, counterclockwise, meaning cyclonic vorticity, cyclonic winds here off the coast of Japan in the Aleutian Island chain. And then there's quite a big high here in the northeastern Pacific. I wonder what's going on. at the South Pole. Don't we all wonder what's going on in the South Pole? Like, we always are told about Santa Claus and stuff about the North Pole, but what's going on at the South Pole? That's weird. That's a weird place. Let's go zoom out and take a look at our solar weather. Solar weather. Ooh, okay. So I did. Wow. Okay. So this was the day that I traveled. And we had a lot of activity on the 9th. Well, the 8th is no, actually, that's not the day I traveled. The 9th is the day that I saw that concert. So the concert I traveled for. So while that was happening, this complete halo coronal mass ejection occurred. Doesn't look like it was Earth direct, but it's still, I mean, the complete halo part is what makes a not Earth direct coronal mass ejection actually have a component that goes towards the Earth, because it sets off like a big bubble popping effect, and a little bit of it goes towards Earth. So right here, you see the little mushroom cloud go. Yeah, look at that. That is a beautiful, you can even see those like smaller scale turbulence within this burst. So it's like a fluid, like a hose pushing this fluid into cool shapes and really setting off. Here's where you can see that it the rays of affected, where the difference image shows difference is the entire perimeter. So that is really cool, because I had a very deep energetic experience there, and I love to see when it aligns with like 2230. That's UTC. That's about 7-8 o'clock. So really neat to see that alignment. We also had, that's a decent and pretty one here. We got those interfering petals from that coronal mass ejection. Looks like we've really picked up steam with the coronal mass ejections. We're still seeing them at similar degrees, angular degrees around the sun. Let's see. Today today we slowed down a little bit. Yesterday and today we slowed down a little bit, but the 9th and 10th, that was quite an intense few days. Let's go and look at our regular solar activity. Currently, no noteworthy solar activity. Let's see, region 3599 is the beta gamma type. That is almost off the sun's limb. That is almost out of sight now. I think 3590 is supposed to be making its way back onto the sun, Earth-facing side soon. This is that there was a coronal hole that formed in kind of a shape of a sickle. Stefan Burns had an interesting observation that the coronal hole formed in kind of the symbol of Ceres, the major asteroid Ceres. Really looking flowy, loopy, chaotic. I actually had a dream about a pattern that looked like this. I had a dream that there was a phenomenon where clouds could catch fire, and this is kind of what it looked like. And people would be able to spot it from miles away by having a strong, clear blue sky streak in a very cloudy sky that blows from like south to north. And that would happen like north. That kind of pattern would show up north of where the clouds were on fire. And I could see this, like, it looked like if you had taken cotton candy and held a torch to it and it burned off and sealed up into a pattern that looks like this. This is also looks like mammatus clouds, or the interference pattern that water gets when sunlight goes through the surface of water, of the interacting waves. This looks like a lot of a wave interaction zone, probably a lot of instability. If we can learn anything from meteorology and take it to the sun, I believe that this mammatus cloud type pattern indicates an area of low gradient, which means high instability. Low pressure gradient in the earth is what I'm talking about, but on the sun, I'm not sure what the analog would be, but maybe it's pressure. I don't know. But let me just pull up. I'll find a good picture and let y'all stare at the sun while I'm finding the picture. Yes, mammatus clouds are named after mammaries. So that's you can guess why by looking at the pictures. Let's see. Can I do this as a split screen? Yeah. Oh wait, I can't show you guys unless I let's see. Stop sharing screen and share window. Entire screen, I mean. There we go. Okay. So this is what mammatus clouds look like, and this is the pattern that I'm seeing on the sun's surface that I think looks like mammatus clouds. Now, mammatus clouds look like this from underneath, and we're looking at the sun from above it. But in any case, these undulating clouds are like little pockets, not like, they are little pockets of liquid water forming in a atmosphere that has such like even conditions vertically that nice natural fluid flow can happen without a lot of pressure pushing and pulling and swirling things into different shapes of clouds that we usually see. They're also seen associated with extreme severe thunderstorms and like really high water content in the clouds. It's a very dense formation. And if you stand under them, they feel heavy. This is when you remember, oh yeah, clouds are heavier than an airplane is, and they can just fall anytime, and that's what rain is. But yeah, you can see yeah, there we go. They're beautiful to see in real life. They're pouches of cloud that hang underneath a rain cloud. Lumpy, cold air sinking down to form pockets, contrary to the puffs of cloud rising through convection of warm air. First described by William Clement Lay. Where have you heard that name before? I don't know. He was just a meteorologist. That's it. Let's click on it. Cloudland, a study on the structure and characters of clouds. His work was largely ignored until his ideas were rediscovered years later. Is this the same guy that invented ley lines? No, they were developed by Alfred Watkins, but I don't know. I'm going to have to do some more research into this because I have a feeling that this William Clement Ley guy might have had some contributions to ley lines that they don't want to put on his Wikipedia. Might delegitimize his contribution to clouds. I want this book. If anybody's got... Oh, I got it on Internet Archive. Yo, Internet Archive is amazing. I love this website. Okay. I'm getting a little distracted on stream, but I think it's important to recognize the contributions of Cloudland. The structures of clouds. Got a nice Shirley poem preface. Yeah. All right. So this is the guy. This is the guy who kind of really wrote the book on clouds. That's awesome. Okay, fun little detour there. Let's go back to sharing my screen. Actually, I'm going to go back to sharing the screen and not the window because it's kind of bogs down the rate here. Kind of bogs down my connection if I'm sharing if I have too many windows open. Okay, here we are, back at the sun. Let's see. Oh, look at this. Look at this up here. Isn't that interesting? That's pretty. Sometimes you can see rain on the sun, and that is when the coronal mass will convect up but not shoot out and just rain back down to its surface. Solar proton flux looks pretty normal. Let's take a look at our solar flare activity. Ooh, we had a very high M-class flare here on Sunday, March 10th. But otherwise, really quiet activity, like extremely quiet activity. Extremely low X-ray flux from the sun right now. Maybe we should all do a little bit more sun celebrations and go out and, well, it was on Sunday that we had an M7.43 out of nowhere when we'd been having just a bunch of really low X-ray flux days. Let's see about our auroral activity. Oh, let's see. Solar wind's pretty normal, slightly elevated because normal's actually really down here at 300. You can feel, people who are sensitive to solar winds can feel anything above 300 kinda. And this is a pretty fast solar wind. Pretty elevated density with it as well. Magnetic field is up in the solid 6 to 7 nanotesla region, but our direction of that magnetic field is in the northward direction. So we're not getting good coupling of magnetic field with the Earth's magnetic fields. It's like putting two magnets that are the same orientation together. They're kind of bouncing anything coming from the sun away from the Earth right now. Check out the magnetometers. We have seen some random electron flux. I wonder if that's what this forum post is going to be about. All right. I will read that later and summarize it for y'all. Okay. Because that's too much to read on the stream. Let's take a look at Is there anything supposed to be coming our way? We did. Oh, that was a very high energy Parker spiral there. And that was a decent coronal mass ejection there. But doesn't look like we're getting much else in the Earth direction. This is Parker spiral associated with that area 3599. Well, that coronal hole probably. Remember that the solar wind is higher when there's like coronal holes make the solar wind higher. So let's actually look at solar imagery so we can see some of those coronal holes growing and shrinking. This one's 193 is going to show us the best for that. This is the one that was like a sickle shaped, followed by those mammatus clouds. I mean, ooh, look at that. Look at that little flux. That's beautiful. See, that's the rain I'm talking about. Seen some snap, crackle pops out of it, but not much. These are also forming and moving like mammatus clouds. Like I said, dense. That's dense material shape. That's the shape of dense material. Seeing a lot of sparks and gapping, so there's probably some like nodes for things to spark and gap with. That looks like a prominence kind of forming. Let's see, is this little vorticity up there? This is the high cadence image, and it just gives a lot more images per GIF, so it takes longer to rotate through, but I think it gives a better understanding of what's really happening on the surface there, including these little tiny sparks. There's just not it makes sense that we're not having a lot of X-ray flux because it doesn't look like we have any well-defined sunspot groups to be arcing between, which is usually what these are. Smaller arcs all over. Looks like we don't have much to work with right there. This will kind of show that. Let's just do a fast one. Yeah, these are the flowing lines. This is the area of density I was describing. And this is what's about to rotate into Earth view. So we are going to probably have some more fun sun coming up. And this is where I was talking about it can rain and swirl up and down, back and forth. But even the magnetogram, not showing a whole lot of strong polarity. It makes sense that there's not a whole lot of activity because there's just not enough charge separation or magnetic field separation for there to be big arcs or dislodging power events. Let's take a look at this composite image. Yeah, like this active region is what's rotating out of view right now. And this is that big coronal hole forming behind it. These are those mammatus clouds. I mean, this looks like a wave. This looks like it could be starting to do something here, but it's not. I want to look at the map that goes thematic map. I want to look at goes. Whoa. Tier 9-4 looking grainy. Okay, thematic map. Okay. Bright regions everywhere, but not many coronal holes. There's a little bit of, well, there's more filament I've seen in a minute. This prominence up here was the one I was talking about. Looks really cool where it'll come up and come down. And then this is a prominence here and here. That's about to rotate onto our sun, Earth facing limb of the sun. Pretty cool. Let's go ahead and take a look at our planetary weather. Alrighty. So, big recap that we had. The planetary weather that I didn't get to deliver the update about was we had a new moon in Pisces. So let's just scroll back to that day. I want to point out stuff about that chart. Okay. So the day that we had the new moon in Pisces, we still had Mercury barely in Pisces, the moon at 20 degrees of Pisces, the sun at 20 degrees of Pisces, and it conjoined the moon conjoined the sun at 21 degrees of Pisces, and Saturn at 11 degrees of Pisces. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 planets in Pisces. So that makes this is an extremely Piscean new moon. And also, this occurred about opposite to the Black Moon Lilith here. And as we've talked about on this channel before, Black Moon Lilith is the astrological point that represents the apogee of the moon, meaning the furthest physically away the moon gets from the Earth throughout its orbit. Because not only does it circle, but it also wobbles from north of the equator to south of the equator. And it also, has a movement closer and away from the Earth. And the area, like physical distance, diameter, radius, really, from the Earth changes throughout the moon cycle. So the time when the moon is furthest away is the Black Moon Lilith point, or apogee, and perigee, or the time when the moon is physically closest to the Earth, is opposite of Black Moon Lilith. So we had a new moon at the physically closest point that the moon gets to our rotation in its cycle, which makes this pretty fun. A pretty, not fun, but like a pretty revealing type of new moon, I think. Anything begun or started on this day, like really Saturday into Sunday, Saturday and Sunday of this weekend, whatever you were up to and doing, and what projects you began then, is really what we're about to work on this moon cycle. And then shortly after that, as the moon passed into Aries, it brought with it Mercury. Mercury entered Aries just like slightly before the moon did. Here they're conjoined at 1 degrees Pisces back on Monday around 2:40. And that was still within a 5-degree conjunction to Neptune in Pisces as well. So we are out here communicating in a more Aries fashion now that we've absorbed all the energy that came with the Pisces new moon. And that was also the last bit of the Pisces stellium that we had initially, until we get both Venus and Mars into Pisces, and then we're going to have another Pisces stellium. So this was the Pisces season, Pisces new moon stellium moment. We also, I think Venus has made its way into Pisces already, so technically that's a 4-planet stellium. Yeah, Tuesday Venus ingressed into Pisces, and then let's go back to current moment. Back to current moment, we are at Venus at 1 degree of Pisces, Mercury just booking it all the way at 5 degrees of Aries already. And the moon is at 1 degree of Taurus. So we've got thing we've got the moon and Venus in mutual reception, because Pisces is the ruler of Taurus, and no, it's not mutual reception because the moon doesn't rule Pisces. But Venus is very happy in Pisces, and one of the traditional rulers and exaltations of Venus is in Pisces, and Neptune is now the modern ruler of Pisces. But anyway, still making a beautiful sextile nonetheless between the Venus and the moon placements right now. Really initiating spring. First degree with these two planets, to me, screams the physical embodiment and manifestation of spring. Also interesting to note that Moon and Mercury ingress into Aries conjunction happened at the degree of Aries where we will have a Neptune and Saturn conjunction in a couple years. That's supposed to bring in quite a new energy. And it was sextile to Pluto in Aquarius at 1 degree. So all kinds of initiation energies happening right now. We've also only got these malefics, these Scorpio rulers back here in Aries right now, or in Aquarius right now. So we are getting out of that Saturn ruled sign time that we had this winter. Jupiter making its way towards a conjunction with Uranus. All I got to say is look up the history of things that happen in May and around the later degrees of Taurus. So, like mid to late May history. Look it up because history is about to repeat itself. That's all I know. I know it's going to be one for the ages, but it's also going to be a new version of that. And then that is currently getting kind of a square. We're moving out of the Mars square Uranus time. So that was also a hard transit for some people. So fortunately, we're moving out of that. It was a hard transit for people who have trouble taking actions that aren't what they're used to. But if you are used to actions that are always different, it was probably a very empowering time. Like me, I'm a very Uranus heavy person, I think, like vibe wise. And so Mars squaring Uranus actually gave me some fuel, like gave me some action fuel to do stuff like travel. But I will be happy to see Mars move out of Aquarius because it opposes my natal Mars, and it'll be fun to see Mars and Venus hanging out in Pisces, where we had personal planets, and we're getting. I mean, Venus is like out of the fire into the frying pan, going from near Pluto with its conjunction to Mars to being enclosed by Mars and Saturn in Pisces. But I think that Venus will overtake Saturn before Mars catches up to her. So it'll be, she'll be out in the clear, making Venus a happier, making Pisces a happier place. Because Pisces can go a lot of different ways. Can be etheric, transformative, transcendent, beautiful, but also can feel like you're drowning. So it's a heavy, heavy, heavy energy if you don't know how to go with the flow. It's a very learn what the flow is, learn what your flow is kind of time. And I am eager to have Mercury in Aries because I feel like this is going to be a great time for expression, thought, communication, making connections in the mercurial sphere. So this will be fun. Do we have and we are currently in a Mars day in a Jupiter hour. We'll be in a Mars hour in about 22 minutes. Let's see. Do we have What's our next lunation? What's our next full moon? Okay, so we just had our new moon March 10th, and that is going to be our last lunation until our eclipse season. So that was a nice time. I hope you took a bath or drank a lot of water or got in touch with water, because that is a really good way to get in touch with the lunar energies, I've heard. I also am now trying to take a bath at least twice a month. Wow. Whoa, dream big, I know. But for somebody who is, like I said, very Uranus and very chaotic, let's say, it is hard to remember to do self-care and daily basic activities. So for me, I have to make up little rituals, like make sure that you take a bath on the full moon and the new moon. So I did take a bath on the new moon in order to try to get in those energies, and it felt really good. Uh, but I wouldn't recommend being all try to soak it in the energies of an eclipse if you don't want to really shake things up. It's a lot of energy, and it's like too much. It's kind of like how you don't want to pour hot water into a pint glass or it'll shatter. Like, that's the energy of doing like rituals or magic and or anything that you did intentionally on an eclipse. It's like pouring a boiling beverage into a glass instead of just a warm one. Sometimes the glass won't necessarily break, but you might just spill the energy everywhere, and it's like you didn't even put it in a glass at all. So make sure that your vessel is fit to hold the energy of an eclipse if you're going to try to harness it. But that's why people just blanket statement tell internet people on the internet, like people who observe moon cycles will tell you on the internet not to do magic on the eclipse, even though it is very powerful magic available on the eclipse. You don't want to just tell anybody they could do it, because that would be like, it's kind of like that warning on the McDonald's hot cup of coffee sign. Like, you don't want to just touch it. You got to have some protection for the energy, and that energy is coming in on March 25th. That will be our next full moon, and it will be an eclipse. So some people would say we are technically in an eclipse season now, as we are just now beginning the moon cycle that will culminate in an eclipse. So that'll be fun. And then on April 8th, of course, we have the Great American eclipse, a total eclipse where the path of totality will sweep across much of America. And that's going to be on April 8th. So that'll be the next new moon. Man, we're already to April 8th. The next new moon is going to be that big one we've all been looking forward to this year. So that's really exciting. But yeah, let's, I think that is a good wrap up summary for where we're at now. Is anything else jumping out at me? I guess technically the moon is squaring Pluto right now. So that's a bit of an ouchie for your feelings sometimes. Maybe an ouchie for your body. Maybe we should do some extra self-care today. I feel like I've seen and heard a lot of people coughing, and I know I was literally like flying spirits, so everybody's not in the best of health, but like I do think I've seen an increase in people with dry coughs lately. So I just think that it's very important to make sure that your nutrition is on point right now, and your hygiene is on point right now with both physical sanitary, washing your hands and taking showers and stuff hygiene, but also your spiritual hygiene, Make sure you're not stuffing down any emotions, because that will get stuck in the body. And when you have trauma stored in the body, that's like a magnet for disease. I'm not saying science isn't real. I'm saying there's more to science and why some person gets a disease and another person doesn't than what science can currently explain. And I believe part of it is having those magnetic attractors of disease, of having a part of your body that just feels bad, or like having a thought you don't want to think because it makes a certain part of your body hurt. Those certain parts of your body that hurt when you have that negative thought are the places that are going to attract in disease and stuff. So be sure to, ground or earth, take some extra long walks outside, breathe fresh air, make sure that the air inside of your room, apartment, building, whatever, is getting circulated and cleaned properly. And also remember that like smudging and incense isn't just for vibes. It's also for literally killing mold spores and airborne viruses, and sometimes bacteria, but not all bacteria. So let me close us out with getting a little card reading. And I think I'm going to pull one from each deck today in order to Oh, that's nice. This mic is very good because you could hear the pulsations that you listen for. How you play a singing bowl? Well, the way I play a singing bowl is to rotate it and try to adjust your speed based on where the intonation gets more in tune or out of tune. And you can hear that by the big whoa, whoa, whoa part getting faster or slower. It's just like when you're tuning an instrument, you want those overtones, the wub wubs, to decrease in speed, because that means there's less and less of a difference between one wave and another phase wise. You want to decrease the phase angle in order to become in tune. And that means that like the overtone, the sound of the difference between an overtone is the sound of the difference between the multiple sound sources. You want that it only produces a different sound when there's difference of phase. So because that creates that secondary wave. Anyway, what am I talking about? Just talking about waves, Pisces things. Okay, let's see what the tarot has to say from my raw labradorite charged. It's beautiful, beautiful. My nails kind of look like labradorite on the camera here. Oh, you saw a little flash. Sometimes I can get a good flash on here. Sometimes I can't. It's kind of hard to see. Get a piece of labradorite in your life. You need labradorite in your life. Didn't realize until I traveled I have a southern accent. Well, I mean, I realized it. I just like forget a lot. Okay. one card out of this deck that's going to work with the other two that I pull is going to be this one. Okay. All right. Okay, then. Interesting. We pulled the death card. Upright. Beautiful symbolism here. We've got a white rose on a black background flag and the number 13. A skeletal knight rides a white horse through a valley where there is a dead king and a living priest, living child, and living woman looking away. The priest and the child are looking at the Knight of Death rider, and the woman is averting her eyes. And in the background, we see the sun rising between the two towers that we see in the moon card, which is the at night version of this. So in the daytime, I think of the dawn as the death of the night. I think that we are in an age of the death of the night. We're in the dawn of a new age. So it's the death of the dark age we've been in. So I don't see this as a negative card. This is I mean, of course, that's the stereotype to say about it. There's cliffs in the background. There's seaside cliffs and a waterfall implied in the background. There's a ship in the harbor. There seems to be blood on the ground where the king lays dead near the beach. And, it's death comes for all. Oh, there's even the horse has like little red eyes. Death comes for all, but it's also the great unifier in that way. I don't care what tech bro will tell you that you can buy your way to immortality. That's not the point of life. The point is life to live it so good that you're not afraid to die because you didn't regret what you did with it. Not the only point, but I think that's a key part of not being afraid of death. And I'm not too afraid of death. Like I could stand to be a little bit more afraid of my own death. I genuinely think, yeah, I'm not going down that road, but I could stand to be a little bit more scared. But I think a lot of people, including me, sometimes like to self-medicate with whatever stability they have to feel in their life in order to feel like it won't end, because death is the biggest change of all. So if you are very change averse throughout your life, it might be connected to a fear of death. Also, change is good. You can't have life without death. You can't survive without consuming. You can't make compost without breaking down material. And you can't grow a garden without good compost. Like the soil and earth, and this is really the feminine dark mystery realm, the death realm. And it is just as important as life. The eternal feeding back between dualities is all about having death as a very present part of life, and that it needs to be honored, honestly, as a sacred event that happens to people, all people, and unifies us, just as birth is and should be looked at as a sacred event, in my opinion. Do my liminal space deck next. This is a ocean jasper that I'm whispering around. It's interesting. I've never thought about putting the rock in front of the mic so that technically I'm speaking through and around the rock into the directional mic. This is what it sounds like with the rock in front. This is what it sounds like not. Very interesting. Love playing with this microphone. It's really nice. I mean, it's not even that nice of a microphone. I spent like $30 on it, but I got a deal. But I folks, if you want to buy me more podcasting equipment, I would love to upgrade the quality of this production. I think that I am going to invest in myself by doing that when I get my tax return. So death and taxes. I'm going to do that myself when I get my tax return, invest a little bit into this, put some stuff in my compost pile, see what grows out of it. All right. Let's see which card goes with our. Oh, that was quick. Okay. These cards are kind of interesting today. It says, "Be your own daddy," and it's got a picture of a sugar packet pouring out money. I think it's implying being your own sugar daddy. We gotta be our own daddy. Maybe that's the change that we who are listening to this podcast or talking in it need to hear, is we need to take care of ourselves abundantly financially. One thing about life that is certain, like death, you also need money. Death and taxes, you kind of gotta. That's the gross thing about life. I'm not scared of death, but I sure as heck am scared of money. Like, yeah, that's also kind of somehow a fear of death, of like, I don't know how that goes. Let me look at what the interpretation of this one is. Be your own daddy says, there's a direct link between making magic and taking responsibility. Get a toolbox, figure out your paperwork, and stop giving your power away. Pointed, I would say. That is a very pointed card. Let's see. Also empowering. Doesn't say find a sugar daddy. It says be your own. Let's see. Last card I'm going to pull out will be from this fun woo-woo hippie deck. This is the selenite I keep with it. Very nice little selenite. Breathing in that selenite air. This one has it's easy to see the flash in it. This is like the fiber optic cable of the Christic world. Christic? Why? I have never said that word. Crystal world. But maybe that was Freudian slip. Maybe there is something Christ-like about the crystal world. Okay. Shuffle the Manifestation Oracle, Law of Attraction Oracle. I don't even know what this one's called. It's a gift from a dear, dear hippie friend of mine. And I know you're thinking, aren't you the hippie? No. Folks, there's more. There's more than me in the hippie world. Okay, this one jumped out before I even asked. Wow, beautiful, beautiful illustration. We got a field of clouds and a field of flowers and a person, or what looks like an etheric body, standing in the field and saying, I am life everlasting. I am an eternal being. You cannot die. You are everlasting life. In grace, you may choose to relax and allow your gentle transition back into your non-physical state of pure positive energy. Your natural state is foreverness. So that is a really comforting card to get with the death card, I believe. Remember that life and death are both illusion. They're the beginning and end of a wave of illusion that is this lifetime. And our real lifetime is so much bigger than this. Our real life is so much more eternal than this and means so much more than what a short physical life can mean. So, remember, your natural state is foreverness. You cannot die. You are life everlasting. In grace, you may choose to relax and allow your gentle transition back into your non-physical state of pure, positive energy. So this is kind of a ghost, but also it's the etheric body, and this is the body that we are working on building in this lifetime. I think our physical bodies are machines that turn hard physical experiences into spiritual growth, and the growth isn't metaphorical of like, ooh, my spirit is bigger. It's like actually you're getting more of a body. The more kinds of spiritual experiences you can have, the more complex the body's system is. Maybe your spirit is only as complex of a system as like a rock, but that's valuable. Maybe your spiritual body is as complex of a system as like a roly-poly or a bee or a worm. Just eats and poops and that's it. But like that would be an energy vampire, would have a spiritual body of a worm that just can take in energy and poop out energy. But if you have different levels of complex life in your spiritual body, you're building up a body as complex as a human body. So I think that's what means made in his image, is a spiritual body could have all the systems that a human body has. And we're working on our vehicles right now. Wow. So very big energy shifts coming, big changes coming. Really, try not to worry about them. Try to trust yourself and trust love and trust the process of life and death. Thank you. I'm going to highlight this. Very cool cards tonight and great interpretation. Thank you to my mother, whom I love very, very dearly, and supports this channel very much in many ways. So thank you for your kind words there. If y'all would like your comment to get highlighted on stream, you can always leave one. I do go live around 8, 9, 10 p.m. depending on what I've got going on that day. Just because I don't work in linear time very well, so I'm not going to try to hold myself to a time standard yet. It doesn't seem to be the call for me to try to focus on doing it every day at the same time. I'm just trying to do this every day. So thank you all for being here with me tonight. Thank you so much for being yourselves and loving yourselves. Go observe the weather somewhere. I love you very much and have a great evening. Welcome back to every day. We're having this every day now. I love you guys.